Imagine for a moment entrusting your child to a licensed daycare, believing that it is safe, only to learn that safety is a broken promise. The tragic death of 2-year-old Vienna Rose Irwin, found in a septic tank at a licensed Ontario daycare, left many wondering. Are our children truly safe in these supposedly regulated facilities? With reports of neglect, injuries, and even deaths, the Ministry of Education seems to be dropping the ball, and accountability is nowhere to be found. Well, tragically, some children end up paying the ultimate price. Let me start this report off by saying this. Licensed daycares in Ontario aren't always what they're chalked up to be. In fact, they may not be any safer than unlicensed daycares, and that's a major problem. Why are regulations, requirements, inspections, and oversight in place if there is no accountability anyway? The heartbreaking death of 2-year-old Vienna Rose Irwin in May of 2023, found in a closed septic tank at her licensed Ontario daycare in Baltimore, left those who entrust licensed, trained professionals with their most cherished, irreplaceable gifts of life wondering just how many serious incidents happen at these licensed facilities. And is the Ministry of Education, who oversees them, really doing enough to protect kids? Here are some quick facts. According to the Ministry of Education, there were 5,836 licensed childcare centers operating in Ontario as of March 31st, 2024. Interestingly, as part of Ontario's Early Years and Childcare Annual Report in 2024, the ministry priorities don't mention safety at all. Priorities instead are affordability, increasing access, enhancing quality, which is about wage compensation and professional development to support growth, not safety. Supporting inclusion of children from diverse communities, and most laughably, strengthening the very data and reporting that I had to file access to information documents to bring you. Data that was only made possible with your help and contributions at our exclusive investigation website, rebelinvestigates.com. Now, by way of background, the Ministry of Education tracks what they call serious occurrences at licensed Ontario daycares, but they don't post that data publicly. As you can see on the screen here, the data is perpetually under review and unavailable. Take note of this because I'm going to come back to it in a minute, especially in light of the fact that the Wayback Machine captured saved pages dating back to 2021, which also says the same thing. The data is unavailable. So this isn't new and has been this way for at least the last few years. So what exactly defines serious occurrences? Well, they include things like allegations of abuse, neglect, child deaths, life-threatening injuries, missing children, and service disruptions. Occurrences are broken down into 5 categories on the ministry website. Category 1, being death, must be reported within 24 hours. Care providers also have a strict duty to report requirement. Under Section 125 of the Child, Youth, and Family Services Act, anyone at a child care center who suspects that a child may be in need of protection is required to report their concerns to the local Children's Aid Society. So let's get into these numbers that came back from my access to information filing, because if you ask me, they're staggering. In 2024 alone, there were 1,258 reports of abuse or neglect. That's over 100 incidents a month, peaking in May with 134. There were 2 child deaths across the year, one in February and one in May. And then there were 386 life-threatening injuries or illnesses reported, averaging 32 per month. Are those odds parents really want to risk? I think that if you ask any parent, it's more than we should ever have to accept. Now, I'm going to draw your attention to a Toronto Star investigation from 2011. Titled Childcare Centers to Start Posting Serious Occurrence Reports, because remember how the ministry website says the data is perpetually unavailable? It looks like this is a decades-old problem, still largely unresolved. It starts off by saying, starting this November, all licensed childcare operators must clearly post serious occurrence reports in centers for all to see, but parents still can't find them online. While there is a searchable childcare violations registry website, many parents may not know that it exists, and it's clear that the ministry is actively withholding trends and studies related to licensed childcare. Perhaps they don't want parents to scrutinize the actual safety standards in licensed daycares and raise questions about how safe or unsafe they really are. If a 2-year-old can die in the care and supervision of supposedly trained and licensed professional staff at a licensed Ontario daycare, and the Ontario Provincial Police close the file without any answers into how or why she ended up in the septic tank with no arrests made in the case, it's pretty clear that the ministry is failing to take action against dangerous situations in daycares. Watch Me Grow Daycare, as the facility Vienna attended, is no longer searchable on the ministry's violation website. An old article from Northumberland News claims that there was no history of serious incidents, but they hyperlink to another facility, YMCA Baltimore, that's still operating. So I'm not sure how accurate this claim is, and there's no way to cross-reference or double-check. Important to note here that there are 3 different types of daycares: licensed, unlicensed, and illegal. Both licensed and unlicensed daycares need to be compliant with relevant childcare legislation, like the Childcare and Early Years Act, legislation that was implemented in 2014 following the death of 2-year-old Eva Rikoviec, who was left in an SUV on a hot July day for hours by her illegally operating care provider. The woman was found to have an astonishing 35 children in her and her daughter's care on the day of Eva's death, proving how important child-to-provider ratios truly are. The 2014 Ontario Ombudsman report, titled "Careless on Childcare," had this to say about Eva's death. Regrettably, the system for receiving and responding to such complaints and concerns has suffered from entrenched organizational malaise for years. In the case of Eva, the ministry repeatedly failed to follow proper procedures or follow up on multiple complaints, including from Children's Aid Society officials. Its ineptitude allowed this brazenly illegal daycare to operate unabated for many months, until Eva's death incited ministry officials to take action. One subheading of the report reads, "The ministry drops the ball repeatedly." The report states that there were inadequate resources given to the licensing branch responsible for monitoring, responding to reports about serious incidents, as well as complaints about regulated childcare operations, which transitioned to the Ministry of Education in 2012 with the implementation of full-day kindergarten, which is a reoccurring theme throughout this report, and that this contributed to significant backlogs. Further, it called the licensing program moribund and in serious need of both an administrative and a legislative makeover. Another finding was that licensing is not necessarily a fail-safe solution. While serious injuries and deaths are rare in the licensed sector, they do happen from time to time. For instance, a child died in an accident in a regulated home daycare in May 2011, and another death was reported in a licensed setting in 2013. Now we're 10 years later, and 2 deaths last year with nearly 400 life-threatening occurrences, so it's clear more has to be done. Not only has the ministry had a pattern of failing to take action against dangerous and illegal daycares, but the Ontario Ombudsman report found an unsettling truth. The ministry is not even consistently enforcing regulations at licensed or unlicensed daycares either. Think about it. How often have we heard of daycares continuing to operate even after violating the most basic safety protocols? If that's not a glaring red flag, I don't know what is. A toddler died at a licensed, ministry-regulated and inspected Ontario daycare, and police closed the case without any arrests. No accountability, no justice for Vienna. It's a chilling reminder that even in a system designed to protect children, it can end up harming them. Local MPP in Vienna's riding of Northumberland-Peterborough South, who I guess is now technically a candidate vying for re-election in Ontario's snap election, David Piccini, posted a message on social media calling for a coroner's inquest into Vienna's death. He says we must never normalize the death of a child in our community. But let's be clear, normalizing any tragedy like this isn't just about public outcry. It's about action, real action that prevents these tragedies from happening in the first place. We have to ask ourselves, are our children truly safer in licensed daycares? The evidence paints a disturbing picture. Too many cases of neglect, too many injuries, too many children gone missing. The system is failing, and the ones who pay the price are the innocent children who deserve protection and loving, attentive care. For Rebel News, I'm Tamara Ugolini. Thanks to your generosity and support, we're able to continue filing access to information requests just like the one that I detailed here for you. If you'd like to support this work and find out more, head on over to rebelinvestigates.com, check out the reports, and donate if you're able to. That's rebelinvestigates.com.